Dianne is yours, Dianne. Children's tour.
You'll be my child.
Yeah, so
Come on, little Marley. Okay, when you want to be a child, then you get children. Come be a child. Let's all be a child today. This is a special Sabbath day, isn't it? Little Gary didn't want to come up. He's young at heart, too, and we've got little Gail back here. So I did do a Christ story to the children before they left because they wanted to know what it was about so they didn't miss a week. So I did a real quick story in their ear. And so Marlene did an excellent job last week, I understand.
Oh, thank you.
We all know who the story's about, don't we? Okay, and you know what happened last week? We're an older group of people now. We don't remember, okay? Well, today, Ellen and James are sitting here reading their Bibles because who was the gentleman that printed all the tracts out? Printed the tracts.
Oh.
The seaman captain.
Oh,
Bates. Thank you, Gail. Bates did, remember? And he wanted to give them to Ellen. But Ellen, she kind of still felt that Sunday was still okay, you know? She wasn't there yet. Like a lot of us aren't there on the same page. We're on different rounds of the ladder as we grow with Christ, right? So she wasn't sure. So now, tonight, they lit the lamp, and her and James took the tract that they gave him, and they looked up every text. And every time they would look up a different text, they're like, oh, they went to the Old Testament, they went to the New Testament, back to the Old, back to the New. And they're like, wow, it is the day to worship. I didn't know this before. We have to tell everybody, Ellen says. Yeah, and then they went to Revelation. They said, oh, we went through the great disappointment, and that was part of it. We did the 2200-day prophecy. We were there. We saw the stars fall. We were there. Why didn't we see this before, that we were keeping the wrong day? We didn't realize the Pope changed it. Oh, my goodness. And all of a sudden, little old James heard, glory. Okay, when he hears glory, what does that mean? A vision. Ellen was going into vision because every time she goes into vision in every story, she would always say, glory. And her accompanying angel came down. Let me get rid of Ellen here. Not get rid of her, but move her. And now she is standing up, and she is in vision. And her accompanying angel is taking her up to heaven. And up they went. And where they took her was right into the sanctuary. And who's waiting inside for her? Jesus. And I'm sure if we would see Jesus face to face, I don't know, we would just, it would be something. Okay, now tell me, children, what was in the first holy place? Don't look at the picture. Let's do this by our minds.
Table, showbread.
Okay, little Gail? What?
5 candlesticks.
Candlesticks? Oh, very good. And she saw these. And then Jesus took his arm and he raised up the curtain. And then they went into the Holy of Holies. And what did she see there? Little April? The Ark of the Covenant. Name me one thing that was in the Ark of the Covenant.
The rod.
The rod that budded. Ooh, beautiful. Little Marlene, what else was in there? The pot of manna. You like to eat, you should eat. The pot of manna in a gold pot, right?
Right.
And what else was there?
Tablets.
The tablets. And how were the tablets in there? Folded in half like a book. And they were written by whose finger? I can't imagine seeing this. It's just like, whoa, it's more than I can take. So she saw the 10 Commandments. And the 10 Commandments was like, how many's on one side?
4.
How many's on the other side?
6.
And the 4th commandment does what? It glows and shines and just is, and she saw that and she's like, Jesus, that is your day you want us to worship. They didn't do away with the 4th commandment. That is it. It's glowing. And if they did away with all of them, she says to Jesus, well, do we have to do away with the other 6? That doesn't make any sense, does it? How could they split the 3rd one up and make 2 and get rid of it? And Jesus says, you must go back and tell the people. And how does she feel when she goes back? And she comes back down into this dark old earth. She doesn't want to come back. And can you blame her? So when she came back, and I can't help but think, and I'm not really trying to read something into it, but you all let me know. When she's saying, holy, holy, what do you think James does each time? Do you think James is praying for her? I think he is, and I never read that anywhere. But don't you think he would be sitting there saying, oh, be with Ellen. She's in the presence of Jesus. Her coming angel's taking her off. I mean, he's got to just be, So she comes back down, and James is like, okay, what happened, And so she told him about the 4th commandment and how it glowed. And she said, we have to tell everybody about the 4th commandment. We've been worshiping on the wrong day. And she says, we have to tell it and get the word out. And he goes, all right, we will. And then she says, but James, I have a special message from you from God. He says, what is it? He says, we have to write up a paper, and you have to take it and get it printed, and get 1,000 copies at first, telling people about worshiping on the Sabbath, the Lord's Sabbath, not Sunday. And they've been writing out longhand. Her vision, think about this. Her vision and his little messages, every time they would sit down and write it out longhand. And they said they weren't getting enough out. And then people would write them back letters. And they had so many letters to answer that they couldn't do the letters and write out about the visions that she's seeing and what to do. So he said to tell you to get out and write it out and go and get it printed. Start small, not too many pages, but don't worry. Funds will be provided. So he had to step out in faith. We're asked to step out in faith, and we still question. I'm talking to myself here. And so he said, okay, we'll do it. So they both sat down and started writing things out. And I was saying to Gary about this, can you imagine writing all that out each time and mailing it to people? We complained if we have to send a get well card, I mean, it's just like they had to spend all that time doing that. So next week, we'll find out when he prints and how it works out and what could possibly go wrong.
Lots of things.
Lots of things. So we'll find out next week, okay? Thank you, oldster youngsters. Can I help anybody out?
I just sit here for sit here. Maybe.
Thank you for that interesting story.